Guys have a great class. Over to you, McKenna.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Felicia. Hi, everybody. My name is McKenna, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Silhouette America. And I'm so excited for you guys to be here today. So I know Felicia had you put in the chat where you guys are from, but I want to know what you guys know about cutting machines. Do you have a Silhouette machine? Do you have a cutting machine? Are you totally new to all things cutting machines? Because I know if you are, it can seem a little bit overwhelming. So I'm really glad that you've joined this class today because we're just going to go over the basics of our different machines that we sell at Michael's. And then we're also going to make a fun little project at the end. So it's going to be really kind of slower. I want you guys to ask all of the questions that you might have. I have the chat open on here and I'll be able to look at your questions, but we also have my friend Kelly, Kelly Wayment. She actually commented at the very top. She's in Centerville, Utah. We're here in Linden, Utah. And Kelly is awesome for answering your questions if you have any questions that I missed on the chat. So just go ahead and put any questions you have in there. It seems like we have kind of a mix. We have Shelly that's totally new to cutting machines. So Shelly, thank you so much for joining us. We have Kathy S that has the original Silhouette machine. We have quite a few models since the original Silhouette machine. So thanks for joining us, Kathy. And then Barbara has an old machine, but she needs to upgrade. You're going to know which one to upgrade to after this class, Barbara. Awesome. Kathleen, we're going to get that machine out of the box for you today. I promise. We're going to show you everything you need to know. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm just going to scroll through the bottom of the chat before we get started. Okay, awesome. Well, it seems like we have a good mix of everything from brand new to cutting machines to people that have had cutting machines for years but are maybe looking to buy a new cutting machine. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Like I said, we're based here in Linden, Utah, but we directly are able to sell our machines all over the world. We have customers from France and Saudi Arabia and just all over. So I think that's one awesome thing about Silhouette is that we really are a worldwide company, and we're so happy to partner with Michael's where they can ship our machines and people can buy our machines. So we're super excited to have you guys here today. And let's go ahead and get started by talking about our machines. We're just going to go over our basic machines that we sell at Michael's. We have a couple other models that I'm not going to show you. We're going to talk about 3 specific models today that are the baseline cutting machines. So this is the Cameo 4. And this is our flagship cutting machine. This is what's going to cut most of the products that you're looking for. And I'm just going to turn it on so you guys can see it turned on. So it has a little power button on the side. This is an electric touch panel over here. So there's not any actual buttons. It's just sensory touch. So this is where you would load your material and unload your material. And this machine is also Bluetooth compatible if you're using it with a laptop or computer that's Bluetooth. And you can actually turn that off. When it's blue, it's Bluetooth connected or searching to connect to Bluetooth. And when it's white, it's just ready to be plugged in with your USB. And you can also use either, even though these machines are Bluetooth compatible. Here in our office, we have so many different computers and machines that everybody's using that I prefer to just plug mine in with my USB, even though my computer and my machine are Bluetooth, just because that's just quicker sometimes. But it is Bluetooth compatible, so one less wire that you have to worry about. This is just the regular auto blade that it would come with when you buy your machine, and it auto adjusts. So you would select your setting in the Silhouette Studio, and then it would or select the material you're using, and the settings would automatically adjust, which is a really cool thing. And it's pretty easy for beginners, I would say, because you don't have to worry about knowing the cut settings to use and things like that. So I think that's a really awesome feature of our cutting machines, and specifically the Cameo 4 model. And then this is a roll, not a roll feeder, but it just, depending on the size of material that you're using, you can move these rollers. And because our machines can cut any material, any backed material matless, so vinyl or heat transfer. And there is also a setting that you can even cut paper matless and do a kiss cut, it's called. That's a bit of a more advanced skill. But if you don't like using cutting mats, the Cameo 4 is an awesome model for you because you can move these. You can cut smaller vinyl or bigger vinyl and just a whole lot of awesome things matless. So that's what this little roller is for. And then I'm going to show you the roll feeder, the built-in roll feeder, but I just wanted to point out that if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the chat, and I am checking the chat periodically. Okay, so I'm just going to move these over real quick, and I'm just going to pull out the roll feeder to show you guys. So this is the vinyl roll feeder. It can feed vinyl and heat transfer rolls. It'll hold them so you don't have to use a mat, or your roll isn't rolling everywhere when you're trying to cut. So you just open it up like this, and then you can actually move it if you're using our 9-inch vinyl or our 12-inch vinyl, but anywhere in between also. And then the roll just sits in between here. These are all not quite opened yet, so I'm not going to totally show you how it works, but you just set the roll in there and it feeds through this and then up into this roller, and you just put it in the machine like that. And it's a super awesome feature of the Cameo 4. Kathleen asked, is this machine very different from the Cameo 3? And it's not super different. They're both Cameo models, but the Cameo 4 can cut more materials, and it does have the built-in roll feeder, which the Cameo 3 doesn't have. It also has this dual carriage, which I'm going to show you guys next. Sorry, it's a little hard to put in backwards. Okay, so this is the dual carriage system. So the carriage 1 is where you're going to cut most of your materials, like, well, most of your paper, vinyl, and heat transfer. And that's what you would use just the regular auto blade for. But like I said, the Cameo 4 has the capability to cut even more materials. And you're going to be using these little blades for carriage 2 right here. And you'll notice that when you pick up the tools, the different tools, this has a 1 on it. So this is a tool that would go in carriage 1, but this one is a tool that would go in carriage 2, and it has a little number 2 on it. And the reason that you would use carriage 1 versus carriage 2 is just some materials are thicker than others, and carriage 2 has a higher motor power. So the carriage 2, this is the rotary blade. So if you're cutting fabric or felt, or even, I think people cut leather with the rotary blade, and I know people cut crepe paper. You just pop it in there, and then in Silhouette Studio, you just select that you're using tool number 2, and then you can cut all kinds of specialty materials with it. These other blades, we have a punch tool, we have a craft blade that's great for like craft foam, and just things like that. So they all cut different things, and you can buy these blades at Michael's, and you can buy the auto blade at Michael's for replacement blades. I know that a very popular question that we get is how long do the blades last? And that's a really good question. I've been working here since last August, so about a year and a half, close to a year and a half, and I am still on the same blade. And I cut a lot of things. I'm making projects all day long. Especially if you're making mostly vinyl and heat transfer projects, your blade will last you a really long time. If you're cutting things like chipboard or paper, like a lot of paper or really, really thick paper, it wouldn't last you quite as long. It wouldn't, you would need to replace it sooner, but they last a really long time. Like I said, I've been here a year and a couple of months, and I'm still on the same blade. So they last a good long time, and you don't really need to worry about switching it out. And the way that you know how it's time to switch it out is if it starts tearing your paper or your vinyl when you're cutting, or it's just not cutting all the way through, that means it's time for a new blade. Okay, awesome. Deborah asked, do all the blades come with the Cameo 4? So when you purchase the model, the auto blade comes with the Cameo 4. And you'll also get a mat in your Cameo 4 box, and then the power plug, and then the USB cord too. So that's what comes in the box. So if you have a box and you haven't unboxed it, that's what's inside of it. Okay. All right, any other questions? It looks like we're all caught up with questions. Okay, somebody asked, what's the difference between the Cameo 4, the Cameo 4 Pro, and the Cameo 4 Plus? So that's a great segue into some of our other models that we have. So I'm not going to pull out the Cameo Plus. So the Cameo 4 can cut up to 12 inches in width and 10 feet in length if you're using the roll feeder. That's how you cut a longer piece. But 12 inches in width is the max width for the Cameo 4. The Cameo 4 Plus can cut 15 inches in width, and we do have a 15-inch mat that comes with that model, so you can max out your cutting size. And then they also have 15-inch vinyl that you can buy. And so that's an awesome option for the Cameo 4 Plus. And then the Cameo 4 Pro, I'm actually going to pull that up for you guys. We have it right here. So this is the Cameo 4 Pro, and this is 24 inches in width. Well, it's a little bit larger than 24 inches, but it cuts 24 inches in width. It's a very big machine, as you guys can see. So this is the largest DIY cutting machine on the market right now, and it has a max width of 24 inches, and it can also cut 10 feet in length. It has a roll feeder that it comes with that you set up, and it will feed the vinyl rolls. It also has a giant mat. Brian, would you grab me one of the mats just so we can show them that you can cut paper on? It's a great option if you are wanting to make really, really big things, or if you're wanting to cut a lot of things at once. So this is the Cameo Pro mat right here. So you can see how big this is. This is a 12 by 12 sheet of paper right here. So this is the max cutting size, well, width for the Cameo 4, this machine. And then this is the max cutting size for the Cameo Pro. So it's a very big difference, as you guys can see. It's a huge machine. It makes really awesome projects. If you're into making big things, or you're a small business owner maybe that's making like car decals, or if you're just cutting out a lot of things at once, that's kind of like what the Cameo Pro is for, kind of what we had in our mind when we created it. But we also know that some crafters just really want a big machine that will make really, really big things. So any questions that you guys might have about the Cameo Pro, you can go ahead and put them in the comments. As far as like paper goes, when I'm trying to find what to use with the Cameo Pro, I've mostly used poster boards. So that's one of the good options to use, but there's a lot of other big papers too that they sell at Michael's. That's kind of like a craft texture that's awesome too. So let me just look at the comments to see if we have any more questions. Okay, someone asked, can you cut paper without a mat on the Cameo 4? So you can cut paper. It has to be pretty stiff. Kelly actually answered this question in the comments, and it does take a little bit of practice. It's kind of a next level skill, I would say. It's not necessarily like a beginner skill. So if you're new to cutting machines, I would definitely recommend using the mat to start out, but it does have that capability, which is super awesome. All right, so let's go on to the Portrait 3. So those are two of the three models that I'm going to share with you today, and you can purchase both of those models at Michael's. The Cameo 4, the original model, actually comes in a pink color, like a bubblegum pink, and also a black. It's like called Midnight Black, I think. And so the Pro currently only comes in white, and the Portrait only comes in white, but the other model comes in 3 colors. Okay, so this is the Portrait 3 model. And this is our smaller model. It mostly cuts 8.5 by 11 paper and also 9-inch vinyl. So it's perfect for smaller projects or smaller spaces that you might have. I know a lot of crafters don't have like a designated crafting space or office or craft room. And so this is a great machine for those crafters because it has a much smaller footprint. It can cut vinyl, heat transfer, and paper. And it can cut fabric if you have a stiffener on the back or a fabric stabilizer, but it can't, the rotary blade doesn't go in this one because it only has the 1 carriage. But it still is an awesome machine. This machine is super ideal for print and cut, and it's very popular in the crafting world for print and cut or small business owners that are making stickers or just different print and cut projects that they're selling. The Portrait is a great option. I've seen a lot of crafters that have like 9 or 10 portraits on different shelves from like IKEA or things like that that are just working all day long that are making stickers for their small businesses. And I actually love the Portrait machine. When I'm working here in the office, I just have a cubicle area, and it's really great for me to be able to pull out the Portrait because it's a much smaller footprint and it fits at my desk a lot nicer when I'm making a project. And a lot of the projects that I do are actually like print and cut, or just I'm using 8.5 by 11 paper. And so if you're using that, this is a great option because you just load your printed piece of paper onto the mat and you put it in the machine, and then it will just cut it for you really, really nicely, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. If you're using it at your kitchen table or your kitchen counter or in your living room, it just is super awesome for that way. Kathleen asked, are these machines mainly made to cut vinyl? So all of our machines do cut vinyl. That's a really good question, but that's not the only thing they're made to make. So like I said, you can always cut paper, you can cut heat transfer vinyl. A lot of people consider cutting machines to be vinyl cutting machines, but the Silhouette machines go much deeper than that. Like I said, you can cut craft foam with the Cameo 4, you can cut fabric, you can cut felt. I love making felt projects. Those are some of my favorite projects I've made. I've seen people that have made quilt blocks by cutting fabric. So while they do cut vinyl and they cut vinyl really well, they cut a large array of materials. So I hope that answers your question. We're kind of going to dive into the rest of the class now, which is going to be showing you guys the Silhouette Design Store, the Silhouette Studio, and making a small project. So if you guys have any machine questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'm still going to be checking the comments, but once I hop onto the computer, it's a little bit more difficult for me to see the comment section. So just let me know if you guys have any more questions about them. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so let's go ahead. Actually, before I hop into the Silhouette Design Store, I want to know, in this class, I'm going to do a small project with you guys to show how the Silhouette machine works. And I want you guys to pick if we do a paper project or a vinyl project. So I want just to know if you guys would rather, which one you would rather see. So in the chat, go ahead and put if you would rather see a paper project or a vinyl project. All right, and then Lana asked, is there a class on how to use the Silhouette Studio? So we actually do these classes every single week, and while this class is more of an overview of the basic machines and then the Silhouette Design Store and things like that, we do have our class every single week on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. through Michael's, and those are mostly like, they're very studio heavy. And we also offer premium classes that are once a month. They're the last week of the month, the last Wednesday. And those are, you'll learn a lot about studio in those classes. This month is actually a preview premium class, so it's being offered for free. Kelly Waymit is the teacher that's in this class today, and she knows so much about Silhouette Studio. She has so many tips and tricks, and if you're looking to really learn a ton about Silhouette Studio, you can check it out. They're usually going to be $20 a class, but this month, like I said, it's a preview premium class, so they're only letting the first 50 people in, but it is free. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and register for that soon. It's the last Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. But check back every single week, because the tutorials that we're doing every week are very, you'll learn a lot of things in studio too. So, all right, so it looks like we've had time for the votes to roll in, and it looks pretty even, but we're gonna do vinyl because that seems like it's what people want to know. So I want to know, are you guys into vinyl? Have you done a lot of vinyl projects? Tell me in the chat, and then we're gonna go into the Silhouette Design Store, and I'm gonna help you guys, have you guys help me pick what we're gonna make today. So to go to the Silhouette Design Store, I just type in silhouettedesignstore.com in my browser. And then we always have different sales going. We just finished our birthday sale yesterday, but right now we're having an autumn sale, and it's 25% off of all designs in the autumn category through October 13th. And I always just like to check these banners. There's a free design of the week every single week, so we can cut that if you guys are interested in the free design. And then there's always bundles too that we're doing. And then you can always come to this What's New tab and see all of the new designs. We load in new designs every single day. So these are mostly fonts, it looks like. Now we're getting to more Halloween stuff. But I always just like to look at these for inspiration for something that I might want to do. Those ghosts are really cute, or this October 31st, I love that. But also you can search by artist if you have an artist that you really, really like. I really like Karina Gardner or Lori Whitlock or Amy Robison. Those are just a few of my favorite designers. So you can come to the artist tab and search that way. If you have no idea what you want to look for, you can just go to designs and you can search by category, or you can look just at the newest designs. These are always like trending for the time of year, so we're kind of starting to get Christmas ones to show up in here. But I want to know what you guys want to see today. So I'm going to open up the chat. Let's see. I always forget how to open it up when I'm screen sharing. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I have the chat open, and I want to know what kind of project you guys want to see. We can do a flower, we can do a pumpkin, just kind of maybe give me some ideas, and then we'll just kind of look for some things. And we are going to do one that's like 1 or 2 colors probably. All right. Charla asked, can the silhouette designs be used with other cutting machines? And they can, and I'll show you guys how you can purchase the designs if you're using another cutting machine. Okay. All right, pumpkin or fall? Okay. A 2-color pumpkin. Okay, perfect. So I really like these pumpkins right here. These are all 2-color pumpkins, but I just want to show you guys how if you have something in mind that you want to make, you can search the design store and you can always find something. So I am actually going to add these to my cart, and you just click it and then you just press the little blue shopping cart. But I'm just going to press pumpkin or type pumpkin in the search bar. And as you can see, so many different pumpkins pop up. And some of them are more difficult. Some of them are print and cut designs. Like this would be a print and cut design because it's kind of like that watercolor style. And you know if the design type, because when you look here, design type, it says print and cut. So that's how you can kind of know. This one is a regular cut file, but it's 3 different colors because you have the orange, the yellow, and the brown. So these are kind of fun. There's lots of awesome pumpkins on here. So this one looks kind of similar to the one that I added to the cart. So I'll add that one. And I just like, even if I'm not going to purchase all of the designs, when I'm looking for designs, I just like to look through them and add whatever I want to my cart so that I can know what I'm buying or what interests me, because it can be hard to go back and look and find the exact design. So I think those ones that I added are super great beginner-friendly pumpkins. Obviously, like there's a lot of 1-color ones, but I want to show you guys 2 colors. So I'm going to go now to my shopping cart. And I think I added a few things earlier today too. I'm working on Christmas stuff here at Silhouette already. So, but my pumpkins are right here. This is what my shopping cart looks like. It tells me how much each design is. And then I'm just going to click checkout. And then it will have me type in my password just to make sure that you're logged into the right account and you really do want to buy this design, just verification. And that's how you buy something in the Silhouette Design Store. One thing that I do want to show you guys before we hop into Silhouette Studio is up here when you go to deals, you just click on it, and this is where you'll always find our free design. And we have a free design that we switch out every single Tuesday. So right now it was that fall design that I showed you guys. But there's a whole bunch of just different designs that are cheaper than other designs. So if you don't know exactly what you want to make, I always like to look through here to kind of decide and help me get some inspiration. So let me open up the chat again and just see if we have any questions. Okay. So Deborah asked, what does print and cut mean? So that's a great question. Let me pull up the design store again. So print and cut means you're going to print something on your printer and then you're going to cut it out on your machine. So if you've ever like made Christmas tags, or if you've just made things on your computer and then had to cut them out with scissors, the machine will do everything for you. And print and cut is a skill that I would say after you get comfortable with regular cut files, you can go on to print and cut. But let me try and find a design that would be print and cut for you to show you guys. Oh, I'm in the, let's go back to the pumpkins. All right, so this was a good idea, or a good example. So I'm going to zoom in on it. As you can tell, it's kind of like a watercolor texture, so you couldn't recreate that with vinyl or paper. And this is actually a drawn design, so it's actually not cuttable in its individual pieces. So you would print it out, and then it comes with a cut line that just hugs the edge to cut out. So that's what a print and cut design is, and they're super fun. It opens up a whole new possibility of projects when you learn how to use print and cut. Okay. So Karen actually pointed out that the October premium class is full. Will the class be offered, or will it be available on YouTube? So that class won't be offered because it's one of our premium classes. But like I said, we do have a class every single week on Wednesdays. So maybe I can show you guys some of the other projects that are coming up at the end of the class so you guys can join those classes. And those ones are free and they don't have a limit on them either. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and jump into Silhouette Studio. Oh, whoops, that's the design store. So this is the Silhouette Studio icon right here. So it's down here on my toolbar, and I'm just going to double click it and it will load up here. And this software is 100% free for everyone. Even if you don't have a Silhouette machine yet, you can always download the software and get comfortable with it. See if you like it before you buy a machine. You download it on silhouetteamerica.com, or it's just an awesome design software too. I'm a graphic designer. That was my degree in college, and other design programs are so expensive, but this design program is totally free and you can use it even if you don't have a Silhouette machine. So go ahead and check it out on our website. Maybe Kelly, since you're in the chat, can you put the link to the software in the chat? That would be awesome. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you open your Silhouette Studio. I was cutting matless before, and we are going to cut matless again today. So I'll just kind of show you guys the rundown of how to set up your Silhouette Studio space. So the first thing you want to do is come over here to the page setup panel, and you're going to select the machine that you're using. We're using the Cameo, and then cutting mat. We're actually we are going to use a cutting mat. Matless cutting is kind of a next level skill. So I just want to use the cutting mat to show you guys kind of just like if you were a beginner, what you would do. So then I'll just set that to 12 by 12 right now, but we probably are going to we're going to cut a little bit smaller than that. So I'm actually going to stop my screen share for a sec. And we just have this plate right here, and I'm just going to put the pumpkin on this plate. So I don't have a ruler right here, but I'm going to use my mat to kind of give me an idea of how big I want to make this. I'm going to scroll down. Thanks so much, Kelly, for putting that in the chat. Okay, so so the mat has 1-inch squares on it, so that's why I like to use it when I don't have a ruler laying around. So I just kind of like lay the mat on top of it because it is see-through. Let me move my computer so you guys can see a little bit better. And you can see that the actual plate is 8 inches by 8 inches, but I want it like small just in the center. So I'll probably do it, I'm going to say like 3.5 inches. And this is not an exact science. Like this is just a guesstimate way that is convenient if you don't have a ruler right here in your craft room. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine 3.5 inches. And we are going to hop back into the screen share. So I do see a couple of questions that I want to go back and answer though. Kathleen asked, can you cut sticker paper? So sticker paper is one of the main uses for print and cut projects, so you can absolutely cut sticker paper. And then Kathy asked, can you explain what the file type means? So I did answer that a little bit, but I'm just going to hop back into the Silhouette store to show you guys the design store. The zoom icon is right where I don't need it. Okay, so the file type right here, the design type, okay, that's what I was going to tell you guys. If you're a non-Silhouette user, if you're a Silhouette user, you want to buy the studio file, but if you're using another cutting machine, you're going to use an SVG file. And so they're a little bit more expensive, you can see, just because we like to offer you a benefit for using the Silhouette machine. But if you are using another cutting machine, this is a super awesome resource because our design store has over 200,000 designs, which I think is one of the best design stores on the internet right now. And it has so many different artists, so that's what the file type is. So I'm glad that you guys asked that question. Let me just pull up the chat one more time. Seems like the chat is actually like in a different place than it was when I taught my last Zoom class, so that's why I keep losing it. Okay. Okay, let me just scroll through these. Delatrice asked, can you also show how to use different color pins? I'm not sure what you mean by pins, so if you could elaborate on that, I can definitely show you. But I'm glad that you liked the tip, Karine, for the measuring on your mat. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this now. I'm not going to use a 12 by 12 inch piece of vinyl because our design is only going to be 3.5 inches. So for that reason, I'm actually just going to make my vinyl 4 by 4. And you can see it'll just add it in the corner up here. And I think this is one of the awesome resources of Silhouette Studio. It's a very simple tool, but by doing this, you know exactly, this mimics the size of your mat and the piece of vinyl on your mat, so you know exactly how big the piece of vinyl is and what you're cutting on it. So in order to open up our design into our document, we're going to come up here to the library. And then I always just press, or it's syncing right now. If it wasn't syncing, I would just press sync right here to load up all of my designs. And then I'm just going to come up here to all files. And as you guys can see, I have a lot of files, over 1,000 files. And you're just going to, I always search for it up here. So I just type pumpkin. And then we have all of our different pumpkins. I actually think these ones are a little bit cuter than this one. I don't really like this S stem. So we're just going to double click these to open them in Silhouette Studio. And then we're going to delete the ones we're not going to use. So as you can see, this selects the entire yellow part of the pumpkin. And we're just going to select the pieces we don't want and just press the delete key on our keyboard. Oh, those are actually grouped together. So the brown ones are grouped together. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come up here to this button up here, and we're just going to ungroup the selected shapes. Then we can delete this one. Would you guys rather see this orange pumpkin or the blue one? Tell me in the comments. And then I see Kathleen asked if I have a website. So I do not have a website because I'm not a individual Silhouette teacher. I just work here for the Silhouette company. But I do get to teach Zoom classes all of the time. And we just have a lot of awesome resources on our social media and on our YouTube. So go ahead and check that out if you're wanting some more help. All right, so it looks like the orange pumpkin was a resounding win. So I'm going to delete the blue pumpkin. And then I want to show you guys one more tip in Silhouette Studio. So if you want to select multiple pieces at the same time, you can click one piece and then hold down Shift and click another piece, or you can draw a rectangle just over the top of it. And then we want to group these pieces together for now. And so we're going to group selected shapes. So that's kind of a fun little tip too, that you can just draw the rectangle over them. So right now our pumpkin is way too big for our piece of vinyl, as you guys can see. So we need to scale it down. So the way that we do that is we use this lock aspect ratio. So make sure that is locked, like a lock, and that will just make it so you don't have to change the width and the height, and it will stay the same. It will scale. And then I think we said we want to make it 3.5 inches. So I just selected the width box up here, and then I just type 3.5, and it will give me 3.5 inches. And you can see that it is pretty tight on our piece of vinyl, but that's okay because the brown is actually going to be another color. So Brian, can you go ahead and get me some orange vinyl, and some brown vinyl. Actually, I have tan. Yeah, if we have brown, I think we do. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Now we're going to ungroup this design again. Just because the brown isn't going to be cut on the orange and vice versa. So I'm just going to drag our brown piece over to the side, and then we have our orange piece, and we're just going to put it in the middle of the vinyl the best that we can. You can use the center and align tool, but that's a tool that's a little bit, it's really easy to use, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys today. So if you're a beginner, I just recommend eyeballing it. So I just kind of put it in the middle right there, and then I'm going to stop my screen share so I can show you guys how I get my mat ready. Okay, so what I really like is most vinyls come with a grid on the back, so that if you're using a small piece of it, you don't even have to measure it with your ruler. You can just use the markings on the back to know how big to make your piece. So we have a 4-inch piece of vinyl. That's kind of what we decided on. And it looks like these cubes are a 1/2 inch each. So we're just going to count over 8 cubes down and up, or over and down. And then I'm just going to use my scissors to cut it. I'll use the big ones. Okay. I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, let me move my computer. 6, 7, 8. And then I'm just going to cut a few. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So down to that one. And this just really helps too if you just really like having your vinyl straight. It's a super convenient little tip. So I'm just going to put my leftover vinyl over there, and then I'm going to make sure to load my 4x4 piece of vinyl right where I said it was on the mat. So I had placed it in the upper left-hand corner. So I just lined it up with my mat along the top and along the edge. And as you guys can see, it is a perfect square because my vinyl, I was able to cut it along those straight lines. So now I'm just going to go ahead and open my machine. And then I'm going to load it by pressing this upward arrow. And it loaded nice and straight. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and jump back into the software. And we're just going to send it to cut. So if you've never used Silhouette Studio before, I think this part can be a little bit overwhelming for people, but it really is just a step-by-step choosing of the different machines you're using and things like that. So I have my machine plugged in. So the first thing I need to do is connect my machine down here. And so I have a lot of machines that pop up, like I said, because I'm in our office, and there's a lot of machines here. And so I'm just looking for the one that says available. So I'm just going to select the Cameo 4 that it says is available because it's plugged in. And as you guys can see, these red lines show up all the way around, which means those are ready to cut. And then I just need to simply select my material that I'm using. And I just type that in up here. I'm not using heat transfer. I will just type vinyl. And the vinyl that I'm using was matte, I believe. So I'm going to select matte. And then I like to cut my vinyl on a 2 blade depth. That's just my own personal preference. And then to send it, I just go ahead and press this blue button at the bottom that says send. Okay. And it looks like some people were wondering about more classes that are specifically for Silhouette Studio. Sorry, I'm going to stop my screen share so you guys can watch this. So this class is mostly an overview of our different Silhouette machines. But if you're wanting an overview of Silhouette Studio for beginners, that's definitely something we can offer. And I just wanted to point out to you guys that this class is mostly to go over the machines and the possibilities of the things you can make. So if you're looking more for an in-depth tutorial on Silhouette Studio, there's a lot of tutorials on our YouTube channel that you can pause and rewatch, and those are really awesome for that. So Elaine asked if I'm using the basic or the designer edition. I'm using the designer edition just because that's what I have on my computer. I'm working here and doing lots of projects, but everything I'm doing can be done with the basic edition. And if you don't know what that means, the basic edition is the free version of Silhouette Studio, and it has a lot of tools, most of the tools that you need to do any project. And then the designer edition is for people that are more advanced. It's a one-time fee that you just pay to upgrade your software, and it just has more tools that you can use. But I have the designer edition on here, but everything I'm doing is the basic. All right, Karen asked, is there a specific class for the Portrait 3? So we have done certain Zoom classes with the Portrait 3. You would just have to look on our YouTube channel or on Michael's YouTube channel, but they're pretty much the same process. For loading your machine onto the vinyl, using Silhouette Studio, everything like that. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unload this now. One thing that I like to do before I unload it is I just like to take my Silhouette hook tool and just check to make sure that it cut, and it did. I just like to start to pull it away. And that's just to make sure that everything worked the way I wanted it to. If it didn't cut super well, I would have just sent it again in the machine before unloading it. All right, so I'm just going to set that to the side for a sec, and I need to open up this brown vinyl. And the brown piece, we're actually going to make it even smaller, because we only need a really small piece. So let me pull up Silhouette Studio. I'll start the screen share with you guys so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, screen share. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to pull the orange piece to the side, and then we're going to pull this piece up here. And as you can see, we just need a really small square for this piece. It looks like it can even be like 1 inch. So I'm just gonna take this tape off of the brown. It does not want to come off. There we go. And this one also has the grid on the back. This is our Silhouette brand of vinyl. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a piece. It looks like it starts on a 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to cut with that 1/2 inch because I just want to square it up on my page. So sorry, that's kind of a weird angle because the roll keeps rolling back. But it's the same process as what I did before to create the square. Awesome. So then I'm just going to take this brown piece and load it into the corner of my mat. And then I just load it into the machine. Somebody's telling me 2 inches. Do I need 2 inches? Let's see. Okay, you're right. I do need 2 inches. I should have realized that. That would have been too small. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and just cut a 2-inch square right here. I don't know why I was thinking it was only 1 inch. Oh well. Okay. All right, and this one is a little bit of a rectangle just because it did have that 1/2 inch square. So I'm just going to load that into the corner. So yeah, it's like 2 inches by 2 1/4 or something. But I just load that onto the mat. and then load the mat into the machine. Thank you guys for catching that for me before I sent it. And if you wanted to, you could change in the Silhouette software to have it reflect the 2-inch square. You don't have to though, because you just know, you saw it with your eyes. So in order to, you're just gonna repeat the same process again. Let me start the screen share. And we did change to glossy vinyl, which isn't like a huge, it doesn't change all of the settings, but it is important when you're up here. We had vinyl matte before. We want to change to vinyl glossy. And then I still like to cut it on a 2. Okay, and then we'll just press send down here because our machine is already connected. All right, Charla asked, what is the name of Silhouette Studio's YouTube channel? I see a lot of videos for various people, but is there an official Silhouette Studios channel? So there is, and it is called Silhouette Inc., like Silhouette Incorporated, so Silhouette INC . And you can find us on YouTube. That's also what our Instagram is, that we link all of our YouTube things to, and then our Facebook is the same too. So you can always find us there, and we have official content that we're posting every day as far as pictures and projects go, and then we also have videos that we're posting like every week. Right after this class, actually, we're doing an all about vinyl class. It'll just be like a 15-minute talk, and we're just going to go over the different kinds of vinyl that exist. So we do stuff like that, and it's just super fun. So if you're interested in that, you can hop on at our Facebook channel. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to weed away the parts that we don't want. So just use the Silhouette hook tool. Sorry, that's probably in the way. And I like to break it just so I'm not using the giant area. Just break it on the edge and then just slowly pull away the excess. And then we did have a little curly Q in here, so just use the hook tool to get that out. Okay, and then we're going to repeat the same thing for our pumpkin. And just pull it really, really slowly. When the vinyl cuts, when you cut the vinyl on the right setting, it really pulls away really easy and really nice. All right, so now all that we have to do is use our transfer tape to put it on the plate. So we have some transfer tape right here in the basket. This is what it looks like. It also comes with the grid. So we know that, I think we did our pumpkin piece 4 inches. So we know that we can do it also 4 inches. So I'm just gonna take 1, 2, 3, 4. And just cut a 4-inch square. And this is just you'll see that this is a sticky tape that you will use. Oh, whoops, that fell, that's okay. This is just a sticky tape that you will lay on top and the vinyl will stick to it, but it's not so sticky that it ruins the design or sticks to the design forever. It's like semi-sticky, and then you'll be able to put it on the plate, which will be a hard surface that the vinyl will stick to. So I just peeled that backing off, and this is what it looks like. It's kind of like a milky tape almost, like it's a little bit translucent. I mean, it is translucent, but it's a tiny bit frosted, I would say. And then you're going to just place the tape on there. Oh, and then you're going to take a scraper tool. These are the Silhouette ones, but even if you had a bone scraper, or I think that's what they're called, or a credit card, you could totally use that if you didn't have our Silhouette tools. And then we're just going to press down really hard and get all of the bubbles out. So Barbara asked, did I allow for the stem? And when I'm doing beginner vinyl projects, I actually just do it in 2 separate pieces. So I'll show you guys how to do it. You can layer it on the transfer tape, but I prefer to just do it on the plate. So then you're going to flip it over. Somebody asked, is the Silhouette Inc. information free? And if you mean all of the content on our YouTube and our website and everything, it is free. So then you're just going to peel the transfer tape back. and then just flip it over like this and just place it in the middle of the plate. Just kind of what you think is the middle. I'm going to do it a little bit low since the stem will go above it. And then I'm going to take my scraper again and just scrape it down, and then just peel the transfer tape. Perfect. And then for this small stem piece, I don't want to use the whole piece of tape. So I'm just going to cut a square. And the transfer tape is reusable, so make sure that you always save your backing, and you can just put the tape back on the backing to save the stickiness. And then you're going to take your smaller square and put it on the stem. Use your scraper. So somebody asked, do you have to use a specific vinyl for plates or mugs? So one thing is this plate is not used for food. This plate is a decoration in our office, or we use it for blades and things like that. So if you are going to use a plate for food, you would want to research vinyls that are food safe. But we're just using I think it's the glossy adhesive vinyl, and we're using the Silhouette brand, but Michaels has so many different options that you could use that would be awesome. If you are wanting to use a not permanent vinyl, then you can always peel it off at the end of the holiday season and switch it out for the next holiday too. So then we're just going to center. Here, I want to show you guys this, but I'm not sure the best way to do it. So we're just kind of going to put the stem, it was like right in the middle with a little bit of space on each side. So I just layered it down like that, and then I'm just going to push it down. Okay. And then we're just going to peel up the tape. And that being said, vinyl projects are dishwasher safe. I've done cups and mugs where the vinyl's on the outside, and I put them in the dishwasher. If you're worried about it, you can always hand wash them. But that's how it turns out. Very cute little project. Thank you guys for helping me pick out what we made today. And we are going to be offering more classes. Like I said, we do them every single week. Going into the new year, especially, we will take into account that we want some more beginner classes, and we have a few more minutes. So if you want to ask any more questions that you might have about the machines or anything, I know that somebody asked earlier about a pens class, and Kelly actually did an awesome sketch pen class a couple months ago. So that's on Michael's YouTube channel if you want to check that out. And then Felicia reminded you that this class is being recorded, so you can go back and watch it and get the information you need again, or just kind of the basics of starting out with Silhouette. But thank you guys so much for joining me. It's been awesome to have you guys. Make sure you sign up for our other classes the rest of the month. And this class, a beginner class, will be offered again at the start of November. And every time I do these classes, I learn more things that people are wanting to know. So they change a little bit, even though we still go over the machines at the start. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Someone asked, what machine do you recommend for beginners? If you're mostly going to be doing smaller projects or just beginner, easy, straightforward projects, I would recommend the portrait machine because it's a smaller footprint, it doesn't take as much space, and it's just really easy to use. So does vinyl ever get old and unusable? That's actually not something that I'm familiar with. All the vinyl that I've had some vinyl for years, and it's still sticky and it still stays really well. So I don't think so, but maybe with the specific brand of vinyl you have, you might want to look into that. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have an awesome rest of your day, and make sure to tune in for our other classes. Thanks.